everybody, and welcome to today's Q&As. Magdalena here. I'm gonna be making something that has become one of my favorite recipes, and I want to share that with you. So let me just make sure that we have a little bit more people so you can see what I'm doing and you don't gonna miss the first part. And in case you're new to all of this, my name is Magdalena Ashwagandha Latte. I'm the founder of Hormones Balance. I help women rebalance their hormones with really good nutrition and herbs and a little bit of supplements when needed, good sleep, and a lot of self-love. So I see there's more and more people coming online, which is great. Angela, could you confirm you can hear me okay, that it sounds good? Okay, Angela already knows what to do. Thank you. Okay, so how many of you here have heard about ashwagandha? Are you guys familiar with that herb? It's an old Ayurvedic herb that has been used for generations, and it's only, I would say, in the past 10 years that has really made it to Western medicine. If you're hearing this sound in the background, it's because I'm boiling some water, because I'm going to be showing you how to make ashwagandha latte today. That's one of the recipes that has become quite a standard in my kitchen. So this is also live Q&A, so post your questions, and I'm thinking of doing maybe a little bit of questions right now before I dive into making the ashwagandha latte, because then we can have a little bit more people. Hello there, Robin Keith. Robin is a regular, I know that. Let's see what questions you have. I'm using an interface where the question's gonna disappear pretty quickly, so keep your questions short. And if I don't answer them pretty quickly, then come back and ask them again, like 10 minutes later or so, and I might get to them then. Okay, so who here has heard about ashwagandha? And ashwagandha is a adaptogen, well, it's an herb that's been used in Ayurveda, which is the Indian medicinal system. You know how we live with the Western medicine system, and then we have Western herbalism. Ayurveda is the Indian medicinal system, right? The same way traditional Chinese medicine has got its own traditional medicinal system. Hello from the UK, Maria. And the interesting thing about ashwagandha is that it's an adaptogen. Adaptogens mean that it helps your body adapt to, or rather the herb adapts to what your body needs, right? And so, for example, in times of stress and a lot of, like, if you're going through a lot in your life, adaptogens are a really great way of supporting and nurturing your adrenals that produce cortisol. And so an adaptogen means that if your adrenals are super high, so the adrenals are pumping out a lot of cortisol, the cortisol is high, then the ashwagandha is going to help the adrenals to calm down, right? But then if your adrenals are really pooped out from being so over-ramped up for a long time, then the ashwagandha is going to support them, not stimulate them, but just very gently support them and nurture them to produce more cortisol or other hormones which adrenals also producing, like DHEA and aldosterone. There's a whole bunch of other hormones, okay? So, I know many of you are using ashwagandha as a tincture. Let me show you, like, I have that in a tincture form as well. And let me do, I can be my own producer of the screen and actually show you. So can you see this is like in a tincture form, right? I got it from Herbs Pharmacy, and that's the Herb Farm, rather, is the brand, and I really like them. You can get them almost everywhere. So what I want to make today is basically the ashwagandha latte, which is really one of my favorites because it's a latte, so you can just really change the recipe to whatever you want to do. Okay, so do you guys want me to show you how to do it? Do we have enough people to get going? I think so. We got some people online already. Okay, so why don't we get started? It's a really complicated recipe, right? So the first thing let me walk you through the ingredients that I'm gonna be using. As a base, we're gonna be using coconut milk, and so the one that I'm using is from Native Forest, which is one of the reasons why I really like Native Forest is because they don't use BPAs in their in their packaging, right? So that's super awesome. And the milk is pretty thick, as you can see here, right? Let me do a little different screen view so you can see the consistency of it. It's pretty thick. So I'm not gonna use obviously the whole thing. And it's one of the wonderful things about making your own lattes, that you can pretty much decide of how thick do you want it, how much sugar do you want to put in there, what kind of herbs do you want to put in there. Very versatile. So I'm gonna be using NutriBullet as the base, right? And basically, you know, I would say for someone like me, I'll use probably 1/4 of a cup. That's more than enough, right? This is full fat milk. Now let's talk a little bit more about the actual ashwagandha itself. So, you know, I like to purchase ashwagandha for, you know, in a form that is dry. Well, ashwagandha is a root, first of all, right? So let me show you what it looks like in a little bit of a close-up. So this is what it looks like. Can you see well? So, you know, this is just, those are bits and pieces, right, of the ashwagandha roots that are totally dried. And I get my roots from, I think I got that from Mountain Rose, which is the usual thing, but there are some other places to get it online as well. So the thing that I will do is, you know, I like to buy my herbs either in a full root form, like the same way, see, I buy cinnamon in this form here, in full sticks. The same way I like to buy roots either in this kind of granulated forms or in chips, right, or as a full. And the reason why I do that is because when you powder something, it gets oxidized really quickly. And, you know, even if you put a lid on your jar, at the end of the day, that jar is still going to have oxygen in there. And so you're losing a lot of the medicinal properties of these kind of herbs. So what I like to do is I love to grind them freshly. And my grinder has a limited cord, so I'm just going to put that in here. So what I'm going to do is, you know, I typically grind it for about a week's worth, not more than that. And I'm putting in, I don't know, I just put in here like 3 tablespoons. And then just freshly grind it. And yeah, I tell you, when you freshly grind your herbs, you can really smell. I mean, they smell divine, and the whole taste of the tea is so different than when you take something out of a package that's already been pre-ground. So just give me a second. This is gonna be a little bit loud. Okay, let's see. How does that look? Ooh, can you see like how? Yeah, it's beautiful. Let me just grind a little bit more. There's a few more bits in there. Okay, that should be good. And what I'm gonna then do, so it's really, literally, I mean, I guess you know, it just becomes really powder-like, right? Now, I'm not going to use all of that today, so what I will do typically is I'll have an empty container like this, and then put that aside, put it away for the next 2-3 days or so. But I make it a point to really grind my ashwagandha, or any herb for that matter, I'll show you cinnamon in a second too, the same way. So I'm using 1/2 tablespoon, which is 1.5 teaspoons in this drink here. That's quite generous, but you know what? Ashwagandha has a beautiful flavor. It's a little bit bitter, but what we can then do is rebalance that bitterness with some sweetness. So that naturally sweetness comes from the coconut milk, right? But then on top of that, what we can do is, one of my favorite things to add is cinnamon. So can you see like how I keep my cinnamon really in very small quantities that's already pre-ground, and I ground it literally just 2-3 days ago. And the reason is the same what I was mentioning at the beginning, is that, you know, I still remember I had when I first moved to New York and I was looking for my own place, I stayed with somebody. I was renting a room from her. And she, you know, and I remember when she advertised her apartment, she's like, you know, I got all these herbs and spices, and I'm a huge chef, and you can cook in my kitchen, right? So I'm like, yes, that's my kind of apartment. So I moved in there for a month while looking for my own place in New York. And I remember opening up her spices and going, what is that? Because it doesn't smell like anything at all. And not just that, then I look at the date and it was like, you know, from the beginning of year 2000. I mean, it was crazy, and it just lost any form of, not just the smell and the fragrance, but it's also with that. Remember that the smell and the fragrance is also a representation of how medicinal, of the oils that are really medicinal in herbs and spices. So mine is already pre-ground, but I ground it a few days ago. But I just want to show you, actually, the cinnamon that I'm going to be using is called, let me do a zoom in on my hand so you can see a little bit clearer. So the cinnamon that I'm using here is cinnamon Ceylon, is also known as verum, which is, verum means that the true cinnamon, right? And can you see how flaky it is and how easy it is for me to break it up, right? It's very different from cinnamon cassia, which is the cinnamon that's found in coffee shops and stuff like that that you go to. One of the reasons why I like to use it is because it's really much sweeter. But also it is much lower in what's called coumarin. Coumarin can be, it's especially high in that cinnamon, that the typical cinnamon, right, that we get in stores, and that's a really hard one. But the high levels of coumarin can really impact your liver. So if you're using cinnamon on a regular basis, I really recommend to get the Sri Lankan cinnamon or the true cinnamon. And you will see that the difference is so big that it's even hard to go back to the other cinnamon if you started off with this. So one of the huge medicinal properties of cinnamon, and I'm just gonna put about a teaspoon of cinnamon here. So one of the benefits of cinnamon, who knows here what are the benefits of cinnamon? Because this is medicine as well, believe it or not. And while you were typing, I'm gonna get some water. So, I'm gonna top it up with hot water in just a second, but one thing is you notice I'm not doing is I'm not putting hot water into a plastic container. I really wish that, people like Vitamix and NutriBullet were making containers made of glass. I'm sure there's reasons why they don't. But when it's, when we are taking care of our hormones, one of the things you don't want to do is putting hot water in a plastic, because it really draws, the high temperature draws all the chemicals into, even if it's BPA free, you have other chemicals in plastic that's not going to serve you any good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a tiny bit. Don't ask me for the recipe. I mean, just, you can see this is, develop an intuition around. If you screw up, just make another one. And it's really hard to screw up this one. And then only then I'm pouring hot water into, okay? So this is for one serving. And now let's talk about sweetener. Stabilizes blood sugar levels. Yes, I couldn't see who said that, but yes, that's exactly what it is. Blood pressure regulation, blood sugar balancing. Totally, Robin Keith is saying. Absolutely. And, again, if you want to use cinnamon medicinally, which is so easy because it's such a tasty spice, right? Herb, spice. That's why you really want to get the best quality, of course organic, and grind it freshly. So one couple of other things you can do is, I added cinnamon, but also the other thing I want to add is cardamom, just because I love cardamom. It's really very easy to overdo cardamom because it is just smells so amazing, especially when you freshly grind it. But the thing about cardamom is that it can really overtake their entire latte, so you want to be moderate. I'm going to use something like 1/8 of a teaspoon, or probably even less, just literally just a dash. Just a dash. Oh, probably even too much of my dash. My dashes are huge dashes. Where do you get your cinnamon from? Hard to find in here in NM. So Stephanie, I get my cinnamon, we have an incredible pharmacy, like herbal pharmacy here, so I get it from there. But I know for a fact that Mountain Rose Herb sells it online. And I used to get it when I was living in like Iceland, for example, when there was no cinnamon like that. I would get like a whole pound of cinnamon. And that's the other cool thing about this, you guys. Like when you get this in a bark form, this can be on your shelf for like 2-3 years, no problem, right? Unlike when you grind it up, that this thing just, I feel like after a month of being in a bottle ground, it just loses its potency. It doesn't even smell the same way. So a couple of other things you can do is I'm not promoting this by any means, but I'm just using some collagen from Bulletproof. But it is a good collagen, and I actually started feeling like my hair has also gotten stronger. So I'm just doing a scoop of that. Great for your bones, for your skin. If you're having, low estrogen issues and your skin is beginning to sag, collagen is a really great way of building up. This is really where the collagen comes from. It comes in is the beautiful saddle skin, right? Plump skin is largely from collagen. So in terms of sweetener, I'm curious, what do you guys use as your sweeteners? Now, if you're going through like a candida cleanse, you definitely don't want to add any regular sweeteners, and I certainly don't want to use agave because agave is high in fructose. Fructose impairs your liver function. Fructose has to be metabolized in the liver, and that's why a lot of people start having fatty liver issues and when they're using so much of fructose. So agave is actually not my favorite sweetener. A lot of people think that it is, but it's not. Stevia, Cheryl is saying, yeah, right. So if you're on a candida cleanse, I would recommend to do something like a stevia. I like to use from Sweet Leaf. That's a great stevia. That is clean. I don't like brands like Truvia and all these big companies because it's highly processed. So, but sometimes what I do is, because I still don't like to use too much sugar. And so what I do is, but at the same time, I don't particularly like the taste of stevia. So you know what I'll do? I'll do like literally 2 drops, 1, 2 of stevia, just to amplify the sweetness. But then I will use a regular sweetener. Like in this case here, I'm using slow honey. So it says does the recipe need sugar? Jane's asking. I'm not a sweet eating person. No, it doesn't actually. It's a really good point, and you will see in a second. I'm using really very little sweetener in this drink, but the reason why I do is because ashwagandha is quite bitter, so it's just to offset that bitterness. But you don't have to. You're absolutely right. If you don't like sweet things, you're one of the very unique people. So I'm using slow honey. This is a local honey from here, from Colorado. It's a raw, unprocessed, unpasteurized. Well, if it's raw, it has to be unpasteurized, right? And I always encourage you to use local honey because it contains enzymes that are really beneficial to your immune system versus getting a honey from somewhere far away. So this is literally how much sugar I'm putting in, which is, what would that be? Probably a teaspoon and a half. That's it. That's all there is. Do you guys want to take a guess of how much sugar there is in a Starbucks Frappuccino? Take a guess. You don't have to look it up online. Just take a wild guess of how much sugar there is in a Frappuccino from Starbucks. And that's one of the reasons why I want to teach you recipes like this one, is because you can then learn to make your own lattes at home that is not only cheaper, but is also medicinal, and it doesn't give you the sugar crazy overload that a lot of the commercial drinks, unfortunately, deliver. Okay, I'm gonna grab my NutriBullet here and literally just give it a whirl. 50-60 grams, Stephanie's saying. Yeah, I think it was like 69 grams. I remember it was 17 teaspoons of sugar. So if you do 17 times 4, what is it? Right? So it's around there. Yeah, isn't that crazy? And this is like, I mean, I don't even want to say any more to that. So give it a second. Let's give it a little bit of a whirl. Okay, awesome. That's pretty much it. And what we're then gonna do, it's ready, you guys. Wasn't that super complicated, long, tedious, expensive to do? So one thing you can do, I just pulled this out, is a sieve. You can put it through a sieve if you wanted to. I'm not going to because I don't mind the particles. I didn't grind the ashwagandha long enough to be like super, super fine. So there is a little bit of particles, and when you drink it, you might feel these particles in your mouth. I personally don't mind it at all, but I know some people do. So just take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Just this ashwagandha latte. and this nice froth on top. And you know, if I added a little bit more fat to it, a little bit more of the coconut milk, then I would have had a more foam on top. Yum. So you can taste the cinnamon coming across. The ashwagandha bitterness is just so wonderful. You know, it's like a coffee, right? And that's the beauty of this, is that if you can do coffee, then you can do this one, because it offers the same level of bitterness, actually less bitterness, I take it back. You know, and then it's just a tiny bit of sweetness, and then the richness in the coconut milk. And it's just such a wonderful drink, whether you do it first thing in the morning to kind of pick you up for the rest of the day in a very gentle way, not in a jittery way, the way coffee might make you feel anxious, right? Or any form of caffeine for that matter. But it's just like that little boost, and then it carries you through the day. And ashwagandha is also great. I forgot to mention that. Ashwagandha is also great for things like the immune system. It supports, you know, it supports the blood sugar level control as well. Not as much as cinnamon does, but it still does. So an all around a wonderful, wonderful herb. You know, and I think it's great that many of you are doing supplements or tinctures and stuff like that. And, you know, but I think it's also, there's something very nurturing about putting these herbs to your daily diet and like making a drink like this. It literally just takes a few minutes. I was talking a lot here with you guys explaining the different ingredients, right? But, you know, it's just, it literally takes just a few minutes. And imagine how creative you can get with this, right? So, I'm coming up with this new program in July called Herbs for Balance, and we're gonna be teaching a lot of recipes like that, where you bring herbs into your kitchen and make simple recipes like this one. So you can play around with a lot of other herbs, including shivatari. Have you guys heard about that one? Really great for like women prunas and sexuality. You know, you can play around with maca. You can bring in matcha if you wanted to, but that's caffeinated, right? And there's a whole load of other different herbs I'm going to be talking about in July, so stay tuned for that one. It's going to start off with a free workshop, and then it's going to be a full program after that, which is an 8-week program showing you how to bring herbs into your life on a daily basis. So somebody asked about what is the recipe. So just a quick recall for those of you who are coming in late. And my base is, coconut milk. So I used full-fat coconut milk from Native Forest, just about 3 tablespoons of that. And then water to top it up, and the ingredients, the active ingredients, if you may, is ashwagandha, which I just freshly ground. Let's see, where's my ashwagandha? This is the full ashwagandha here. Ashwagandha, cinnamon, and a touch of a sweetener. I put it in a blender, I blend it, and then 3 minutes later, the drink is ready. How about that? So who here is gonna try to make it this weekend? I know you might not have ashwagandha where you live, and typically most shops, unless you have an amazing herbal pharmacy close to you, don't really sell ashwagandha, but you can order that online today. You know, just start off with a little pack, and there's no side effects to ashwagandha. I have to tell you, that's one of the like really safe herbs. You know, there's different herbs that taking too much of it might be contraindicated with different medications, and certain people can't do it, and not ashwagandha. That's part of the reason why I love this herb so much. So Sally's saying she's gonna be making that. Awesome. Who else? And yeah, bring on your questions. So we're done with the demo, and I'm open to questions. Robin Keith is saying I'll try it. Awesome. Who here has tried shitavari? Anyone here who's familiar with shivatari? I'm excited for your herbal workshop, Sally is saying. Thank you, me too. But I have to tell you, a lot of work to that one, because we got videos, amazing recipes. I've got 4 photographers photographing all the recipes right now. There's gonna be 144 recipes. And not just herbs, but it's also, we're gonna be teaching natural shampoos, natural lubricants, like lubes, you know. We're gonna be teaching, gosh, I mean, everything from like making these medicinal balls culinarily. We're doing natural whitening, teeth whitening, you know, solutions that you find around the house. You can just get from a pharmacy without any chemicals in it that really, really work. you know, your own deodorants, etc. Will you be posting a written recipe to follow? My memory is shocking and I can't remember. Okay, Claire, is it Claire? Yeah. So Claire, I'm gonna be sharing the recipe in the free workshop that's coming up, and it's gonna be on the 19th, 21st, and 22nd of July. So if you stay tuned for that, so sign up for that workshop. And this is one of the recipes I'm gonna be sharing during the workshop, so you can get it there. I have a slight hormonal imbalance, Linda is saying. Well, great, it's just slight. Well, welcome. I haven't seen you here before. Where's the herbal workshop going to be? It's going to be online. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. I do everything online. I can't expect you to be coming to Boulder to see it. So it is gonna be all online. Yeah, let's see what other questions do we have. I'm gonna just pop over my computer, my laptop, and see if I can see your questions from there from before. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So let me take a quick look at this. I'm wondering whether you guys have tried different adaptogens before and how they worked for you. I have the whole website. What's the website to order ashwagandha? Yeah, so you can get it from Mountain Rose Herbs. I think that's the best one to go to get your ashwagandha there. And do you go to your website to register? Deborah is saying. Deborah, if you're following, thank you for the enthusiasm. Deborah, if you're following me on my website or on Facebook, you will know about it because I am going to be promoting the workshop extensively, so you will hear about it. Oh, I can see myself talk. Okay, awesome. Let's see, what else do we have coming in here? How often can I drink this? Oh, great question, Robin. So, you know, daily, really. I mean, the holly, yeah, I love holly basil. Wonderful, Charlene is saying. Oh, thank you for mentioning that. In fact, let me just show you something. So I just ordered a whole bag of holly basil tulsi. Can you see this one? So part of the reason why, yeah, I just ordered a whole, there's like a pound, I think. Of it, holly basil, because like same as you, I just absolutely love it. And that's another adaptogen. It's a little bit gentler. You see, gentler than ashwagandha, but not, now when I say that is I actually want to kind of pedal my way out of it because everyone responds a little different to herbs. So for example, ashwagandha has really great benefits for some people, and I certainly feel the benefits of it, especially if I'm traveling a lot and I'm really worn down and or if I'm stressed out. There's a lot of things to do. Like right now, we are getting ready for the launch of our herbal program. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I've been drinking that daily. You know, but then there's other people who don't really, like ashwagandha makes them really sleepy, for example, right? So, you know, I always teach about bio-individuality. One person's food is another person's poison. So that's like the, you know, the drastic way of looking at it. But, you know, at the best case is one person feels great and the other person doesn't feel anything, and another person feels really sick. So you could be anywhere in that. You know, another great adaptogen, for example, is rhodiola, right? But, you know, rhodiola doesn't do anything for me, like nothing. It doesn't do anything bad, but I just don't respond to it. Tulsi, on the other hand, has like this very grounding effect on me. And that's one of the things about when you do experiment culinarily is give yourself the opportunity to really tune in to how your body responds, how you respond to the herb you're putting in your body, right? So Tulsi is a huge, you know, I love to mix Tulsi with a few other things, and I'm gonna be hopefully teaching that in a workshop, in the free workshop as well. Tulsi with actually adaptogens combined with some nervines are hugely beneficial because, you know, nervines are, especially if your adrenals are running crazy, right? You're already on high. The first thing you want to do is you want to bring in a really gentle nervine and then bring the adaptogen to lift up the adrenals. So that's another really smart way of doing things. The only thing I would not do with Tulsi, and I did some research when I was working on the program and my book actually as well, is that you don't do Tulsi in a powder form. I've never at least found any research that was showing that Tulsi powder, putting that as a powder form actually has any benefits. So I steep it just generally the way I would do with any other tea. Okay, was it a website to, I think I already mentioned the website to order ashwagandha is Mountain Rose Herbs. You can get it there. Let's see what other questions we have coming in. So good. Yum. I never get bored of it. And you know, I tweak it every day I do it. It's like, I'll put something else in. Sometimes I'll put in maca. Sometimes I would not put the cinnamon in, but I'll put something like star anise, you know, ground star anise. Oh my God, that's like my all-time favorite because I love licoricey things. So for those of you who are new here, if you're listening to the call for the first time, if you don't know what hormonal balance you have, take a look at the hormonesbalance.com, which is my website /quiz. Angela, if you can post that, that'll be super helpful. Or, you know, so hormones with the S, hormonesbalance.com /quiz. Take the quiz and it will tell you what hormonal imbalances you might be having. It's actually shockingly accurate because not always do your lab test show what really is going on, especially if you were doing lab tests that are done like through blood or, you know, saliva. They're not the most accurate. Urine is pretty accurate, but most people don't have the funds for doing it. So anyway, hey you guys, I hope this was helpful today. You've learned something new. I hope you try it because that's the most, you know, honestly, that's like the biggest kick I get out of this is when somebody goes and tries it and says like, oh my God, I loved it. Or, you know, I tried this thing you teach and like seed rotation and I got my period back after 3 years of not having my period. That's the kind of stuff that really feeds my soul. And so I hope you try it and you feel some benefit. But tune into your body and really see how it feels. Now, can you see my t-shirt? What does it say, right? So, in conjunction with supporting your adrenals, breathing is another wonderful, wonderful way of calming yourself down. And we are going into summer holiday season, right? So, you know, we should be relaxing. This is really the time to kind of, you know, really get the rest that we need for the rest of the year. And one of the big things I want to encourage you to do this weekend is breathe. And one of the wonderful ways of breathing is what's called diaphragm breathing, where you open up your diaphragm. So you don't put the air into your lungs, it goes into your diaphragm. And then expanding that activates the vagus nerve, that then activates the parasympathetic nervous system and it calms you down. So if you do the diaphragm breathing with the ashwagandha, you're golden for the weekend and for the summer. Okay, you guys, it was awesome having you here. Thank you for joining, and I will see you next Friday. And bye for now.